Yeah, yeah, save
Hey,
me.
make sure you kind of do some good editing before you release that video or tape.
Yeah, I'm gonna do something with it. Don't worry.
Open your mind. Open your mind. Open your mind. Open your mind. Open your mind.
We came over here on a slave ship,
Oh yes, yes, yes.
right?
I'm glad.
By some Europeans, and they overpowered us. You know what I mean? The mighty black people of that created the universe or whatever. They overpowered us.
Just to make us look weak again, that we can say that they are a powerful people, because they overpowered a powerful people. So that makes them look at another light powerful again.
Right.
Interesting.
So
can I back up a little bit when you said something about Nova Scotia and those places?
yeah. So
is it fair to say that they inhabited that land by possibly killing us off there, and I'm sure that took a lot of time to do that.
right.
Is it fair that we can possibly see us off of this land here at some point? Is this to be all European, like America or other parts of the planet?
Well, it's not. It's not because of quote unquote multiculturalism, right? Because of multiculturalism, so-called multiculturalism, right? All these other people having to migrate, emigrate, whatever, because of, you know, war, famine, things that these Europeans created, right? They really surrounded themselves only by their enemy.
Have you heard?
It's on the table, Sergeant.
All of them?
Every single last one of them.
Good Lord.
Was it worth it, Sergeant? Was it worth the lives of Cliff, and Johnny, and Bill? My God, man! Is the whole world red and black and brown and yellow? They'll always outnumber us.
Lieutenant, I don't know much, but I know this. This world is made for the God-fearing to use as we see fit. For a while, these savages call it theirs, but they're just renting it. It's ours. It was always ours. We just ain't claimed it all. Yet. Kill them all. And let God sort them out.
So there's nowhere really that they can go to escape, really. Like look they tried to make Florida Keys that place. Look what happened to Florida Keys. Right?
Yeah.
That was one of their escape hatches, so that they can be excluded from society for all the BS that they did to society, and they could live life at the, you know what I mean, beachfront, whatever. Well, all that's done.
They retire.
Right.
After they did all that dirt and crime.
Right. But they don't have that anymore.
They go there to hide and retire.
Right. But they don't have that anymore. That's done. That's over.
You think it's ruined?
No. Well, I mean, they have nothing right now. Regardless of what.
Yeah.
Regardless of what, right now, everybody who was there has nothing.
Oh, that's what you're saying. Yeah. It's totally ruined. It's in ruins right now today.
Right today, right now, to this day, right now, September 23rd, there's no Florida Keys. Now, we know if we say that we are students of, let's say Marcus Garvey, right?
Or the Minister Farrakhan.
Well, let's stay with Marcus Garvey for right now, because
Okay.
he's the only one of any of the so-called black leaders that said, "Catch me in the whirlwind."
Catch me in the what?
The whirlwind,
The whirlwind.
right? What is a hurricane a whirlwind?
Yep. Is that what he meant when he said that?
Well, hey, you know what I mean? We'll just leave it in the air. He said it. I don't know, but we'll use our common sense and come to a conclusion.
The whirlwind, the wind in the world. And that's what we just experienced. This total destruction of wind, 150 miles per hour.
Oh, okay.
What else could he have meant?
What else could he have meant? Common sense though, right? It doesn't have anything to do with anything other than common sense. If this man made a statement...
he made completely common sense.
All right. So, you know what I mean? So now we know why there's no Florida Keys and why there's no Texas and why there's no certain places who, when we check the record of mid-1900s to Marcus Garvey being deported and all that, right? The track record shows that it was the South that was against him.
I read that somewhere on Facebook.
Right.
Some months ago, and it was relating to something like that. His distractors and stuff were out of the South, from the plantation.
Right.
Okay, so yeah, I can kind of follow you with that. Some bitch.
Right. Now again, we're go back to this European colonization that, as Moors, we should call it birthright theft. Because really, the only reason or the only way that they can colonize is by doing what you say: kill all the people off, kill all the animals off, and take over.
I was following you on Facebook when you made that statement. I don't think I was not. I'm glad you responded. But yeah, we're dealing with the psychological trauma of slavery, we say, but you say, no, we're dealing with psychological trauma. Boy, that is deep. Oh my God, what the fuck?
Right? Now, and then this is why I told you, oh yeah, don't forget to take your number off so you don't have crazy people calling you or whatever. You could delete that now.
Oh, yeah. Okay, thank you.
But that was the whole point, right?
Yeah, we're looking at it here once again. All these great, brilliant minds, they took it there, which is good. Psychological trauma. That lady has that book or something.
Yeah, it's real. It's not a fake thing. Yeah, it's real.
It's real.
Yeah.
But you have taken it way beyond that.
And remember,
that's going to be hard. That's going to be very complicated and difficult to put in your spike.
But this is why,
because they don't know that part of themselves.
Now this is why
they don't have enough proof.
This is why.
That's crazy.
This is why there's. If you ever heard of Noble Drew Ali.
Yes.
Noble Drew Ali made.
I have two of his biggest books.
All right, Noble Drew Ali made a statement that new Moors are gonna come with their eyes wide open, and they're gonna be seeing everything that's going on, right?
That's what we're doing. That's what we're living in right now.
Exactly. By you even
with Noble Drew Ali.
Yeah. So he made a statement that new Moors are gonna come.
That's the statement he made. New Moors and the eyes are open.
The eyes are open.
Which right? We are living in that time right now.
Right. So you reaching out, right?
That's me. That's my eyes being open.
Right. That's your eyes being open. I don't care about who didn't freaking reach out, who doesn't like, who said, well, I don't know if I'm going to comment on that.
What I really was talking about.
Right. You know what I mean? Like, it's not even about them. It's about whoever saw the little bat thing in the sky and knew that, you know what I mean? It's time for us to go.
What I'm experiencing.
Right.
I'm experiencing so much lately. It's getting stronger and stronger, but I'm almost bringing my thoughts to myself. I ain't saying I'm almost. I am, okay? even if I thought about you, I went to your job looking for you. I couldn't find you. Then just for some reason, I passed your house, your neighborhood, and there you were walking across the street.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to your house to see if I could see your car or anything.
Right. Yeah.
And there you are. So now I deal with things, and this has been going on for about 4 years. I got an understanding of it because it was so strong. When I see things as ancient, automatically I have a total recall.
Mm-hmm.
And I go to find out more about it. So I was like, why am I always attracted to these things? I said, you know what, Roy, because you forgot.
Right.
The bastards beat that shit out of you. This is your shit. Take it back.
Right.
And it's so strong, Cujo, that I swear for God, I see something of ancient and it's like total recall. I said, why did you select to get involved in that or to find more about it? I think it was your shit. You forgot about it, and you see it now. You remember it.
Right. Now, if you
does that make a lot of sense to you?
Right. Now, check this now. Now, if you're saying that you realize that it's your shit, right? You know what you're actually saying? What you're actually saying is that it's about birthright.
Yes. Totally. Oh my God. Right on the spot.
The only way that you can claim it as yours like that, that's my shit. Give me my shit. Is if you are looking at it from birthright, but nobody's ever brought it to that perspective. They always go into racism. They always go into
take it to another level.
Exactly. This is what Malcolm found out when he went over to Mecca, and they told him, "What are you doing over here? Your home's over there." And then he came back over here with the name Malik El Shabazz, which is a Moorish name.
That's his. Which you said that is his shit.
Which is a Moorish name. So he claimed his shit because he can't be X either, or Malcolm, and claim that he's founder of some civilization. Malcolm is a modern name, and X is Greek. So
I'm confused. I never understood. I never did get all the whole full story on all that anyway.
Right. Well, this is the story. Keep this in mind. The story is that if you are a slave and you become emancipated, right? So if we use Malcolm for example, Malcolm Little, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pimp, pusher, blah blah blah, doing all the BS. Went to jail, got enlightened, came out of jail, and then became one of the most prominent influences for quote-unquote black culture, right? Near the end of his life, went to find out what real Islam is because he found out that the black Islam was some bullshit. So he went to Mecca to go see what real Islam is about.
Right in his own country.
Right.
Where he came from.
Not even here. He went over there, across the Atlantic Ocean.
That's what I'm saying.
But that's not his real country. His real country is here. That's why when he went there, they told him, "What the hell are you doing here? What do you mean you're coming back home? Your home is."
That's what you're saying.
His home is over there. Why? Because he realized that it was birthright, and then he came back over here and he started talking about going to the UN and human rights and stuff like that. He wasn't talking about black bullshit like he was talking before.
That's what he went to the UN about.
And that's why they assassinated him.
Oh my fucking.
Because they knew that he was going to be one of the people, because he's a big mouth or whatever, and he's that influential that if he starts talking.
I read once, passingly, about a man named Shakespeare. I only read about him passingly, but I remember one thing he wrote that kind of moved me. He put it in the mouth of Hamlet, I think it was, who said, "To be or not to be." He was in doubt about something. Whether it was nobler in the mind of man to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, moderation, or to take up arms against the sea of troubles and by opposing, end them. And I go for that. If you take up arms, you'll end it. But if you sit around and wait for the one who's in power to make up his mind that he should end it, you'll be waiting a long time. And in my opinion, the young generation of whites, blacks, browns, whatever else there is, you're living at a time of extremism, a time of revolution, a time when there's got to be a change. People in power have misused it, and now there has to be a change, and a better world has to be built, and the only way it's going to be built is with extreme methods. And I, for one, will join in with anyone, don't care what color you are, as long as you want to change this miserable condition that exists on this earth. Thank you.
Well, these were African, Arab, Asian values. The only section of Europe that had a high value system during the Dark Ages were those on the Iberian Peninsula in the Spanish, Portuguese area, southern France. And that high state of culture existed there because Africans, known as Moors, had come there and brought it there. So,
Malcolm, are you prepared to go into the United Nations at this point and ask that charges be brought against the United States for its treatment of American Negroes?
Oh, yes. Please. I think you're right in my camera. The audience will have to be quiet. Yes, as I pointed out when I was during my traveling, that African nations and Asian nations and Latin American nations look very hypocritical when they stand up in the United Nations condemning the racist practices of South Africa and that which is practiced by Portugal and Angola, and saying nothing in the UN about the racist practices that are manifest every day against Negroes in this society. Even in South Africa, those Africans aren't faced with bayonets and aren't faced with police dogs. And when I was in Beirut, I saw a picture on the front page of a Negro being beaten in Tennessee, on the front page of the paper in Beirut. When I got to Cairo, I saw the same picture of a Negro being beaten in Tennessee. When I got to Lagos, I saw the same picture. So were these African nations knowing the brutality that is inflicted upon black people in this country, simply because those black people are trying to get what the Supreme Court said they were supposed to have 10 years ago? I would be not a man. If I was in a position to bring it in front of the United Nations and didn't do so, I wouldn't be a man.
Malcolm, do you intend to lead the charge in the United Nations?
Well, I find that to say you're going to lead something creates a lot of hostility, division, jealousy, and envy. I hope to work with any group of leaders or any group of organizations to do whatever is necessary to see that this problem is brought before the United Nations.
Have you had any commitment from any nations in Africa to support your move?
I would rather not say at this time. But one thing I found in my travels, all of them look upon us as their long-lost brother.
And start telling these people that they're Moors and start calling them black and all that.
You have to be freaking kidding me.
Right?
So that is why the nation is probably a part of the I don't know words to use.
Part of the birthright theft.
They're being paid.
Part of the
paid to not to reveal this or something.
They're part of the birthright theft.
Oh, they're part of the birthright theft. You deep down, where the hell you come from?
Right? They're part of keeping us not getting our shit back, but marching in the street and complaining and laying down in the street and doing all this BS instead of claiming your birthright.
Until I get the signal
What you have to understand is that this Moorish Divine National Movement needs you as Hebrew Israelites. It needs you. It needs your law. It needs those teachings. Okay? And this Moorish movement has never been seclusive, or how do I want to say it? It's never excluded you. It's just what goes on now is that Israelites are excluding themselves from this Moorish and divine national movement because they're so stuck up on dogma, not realizing, and I have to say this again, that a lot of Hebrew Israelite brothers and sisters out there are nothing more than Christians who have learned some Hebrew, who given themselves a Hebrew name, who throw around Hebrew words. And it's not to be disrespectful when I say that. I'm saying that because that's what I saw. And that's why I backed away from it, because I find myself dealing with religion, or not religion, but dogma. I say religion because that's what people get confused, with dogma.
Like Israel, Hebrew, like
It comes back to the same concept.
are they birthright stealers too, or
To a degree, because they know that they come from the Canaanites.
and the Canaanites are here in America?
Exactly. Isn't that simple?
God, he said, goddamn. Number one, God ain't his name. God just means power, authority, angel, message. Yahshua Allah he is the son of the power. The Allah is God. So saying goddamn is not the Most High's name. His name is Yahweh.
Look how you just figured that out. If the Canaanites are here in America, right, and then the Canaanites are the Moabites and the Hittites and all these people who are in scriptures, right? Wouldn't that mean that?
Cujo,
Yeah.
no. My face hit a button that put you on hold.
Oh, it's all
When
good.
you said the Hebrewites
Yeah.
are from the Canaanites, that's when I lost you. And
All right.
I was saying that, could you make the connection that the Canaanites are here in America? I didn't know what you said.
Yes, because the Hebrews come out of the Canaanites who were already in America.
They know that?
Of course they know that.
They don't understand it.
But no, they choose to it's like let's look at it like this, right? Let's look at it like this, right? As far as in America, right? The descendancy in America is Aboriginal and Indigenous people. Right?
And we are those people.
And we are those people, the dark-skinned people who were here before the Europeans came here.
Probably your most controversial thesis was that Africans, black Africans, came to North America before Columbus.
Yes.
Give us some insight into that research that increasingly caused you to come to that
That's
conclusion.
extremely interesting, because I actually began 26 years ago attacking this thesis. Because being trained at School of Oriental and African Studies, which is where we were led to do studies of primitives, all this was very strange to me. So when I came here, and the very next day I came to this country, I read this book, African, The Discovery of America by Lewin, and I thought it was madness. I was very impressed by the linguistics, because I was both a linguist and anthropologist at the time. I was very impressed by the how could you have such coincidences? But I actually wrote an article attacking this thesis, and I ended by saying, if anyone could show me just one image of an African in America before Columbus, I would begin to believe. And I sent it off to Random House. Charles Harris was the editor of some magazine, Amistad 2. And he called me the week later and he said, Van Sertman, something strange has happened in my table. He said, if anyone could show me the image of an African in America before Columbus. And that was the last sentence in your paper, and I turned it over, and there were 6 images of African America before Columbus, because John Williams, the novelist, had met some strange German who was last of the royal family of Germany, and he had spent many years in excavations, etc., and they come up with these heads. So I then flew to Mexico to see von Lutenau. We became great friends. Every year I would go into different fields, into botany, into linguistics, and found that all sorts of things connected. Then I was surprised to find, after about 5 years, that I had collected 12 Europeans, the names of 12 Europeans who had actually seen or heard of blacks when they came, and that Christopher Columbus was the first of these. Christopher Columbus actually wrote in the journal of the second voyage that when he was in Haiti, Native Americans came to them and told them that black-skinned people had come in large boats trading in gold-tipped metal spears. Columbus took 2 of these spears and sent them back to Spain to be assayed. They were microscopically inspected in Spain. Then they found that of 32 parts, 18 were gold, 6 of silver, 8 of copper. That's identical with spears being forged in African Guinea. And all the songs that the Native Americans were using for these spears are the same songs that the Africans were using, Ghana and Kane and Kani and Ghanin, etc. The Americans had added one word, Ghanini, the gold merchants, which referred to the Africans bringing in these things. And then I found Ferdinand Columbus wrote a book in his father. He said, my father told me he saw Negroes north of Honduras. And then I found that Vasco Nunez de Balboa in September 25th in the year 1513, coming down the slopes of Caracua, which is in Darien, which we now call Panama, actually saw 2 tall black men among the Native Americans. The Spanish were startled. These men were about 1.5 feet taller than the Native American. They were exceedingly black. They had a different texture of hair, different features, and they asked the Native Americans where these black men come from, and they said, we don't know, but they're in a large settlement nearby, and we're waging war with them, and we've captured these 2. Several people commented that. Peter Martyr, one of the first historians of America, said that these black people must have been shipwrecked long ago from Africa and had taken refuge in these mountains.
When they came here, people were here. They say that. Those people...
They say it wasn't us. They say those people were not us.
Right, that's what they say. But when you go back and check the records, the ship records of them coming over here, they say dark-skinned people out of their own mouth. Right? They say that. They don't say Indians or light skin or whatever like that. They say dark skinned people. They say people who look like tar and stuff like that we found over here.
That's that damn book. I had my book collection stolen from me. No, I had my house taken from me, all my things I ever owned taken from me through an eviction. So my book collection was in there. And I swear one time I was hunting for books or something. I come across this book dealing with over here in America, and it was just, this man had written his memoirs of, him being over here.
Right.
And he was describing, and that's why I grabbed the book. Man, I hate that part of my life that got taken away from me.
Oh no, don't even worry about it, because you're still here. So the purpose still has to be fulfilled. Again, just like what we were talking about, the purpose is to recognize that you can't be Hebrew because that's a language. You can't be Israelite because the etymology of Israelite comes from Israel, which comes from Isra and El. And Isra means Sarah. Isra, El, Israel, Israelite. The people from Israel are really descendant from Sarah.
And who is Sarah?
That's just more of the Bible story. That's just going further back where we don't need to go. The point of the matter is that these people who classify themselves as Hebrew Israelites are really Canaanites, because their culture comes out of Canaan.
Wake up!
This is the Bible's explanation for the name Yahweh. But there are certain important and unique features of this burning bush dialogue. First, God identifies himself to Moses as the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He reveals to Moses a new name, Yahweh, so that Yahwism and the Yahweh cult can be said to begin only with Moses. Exodus 6, verses 2 to 4, very important passage. Exodus 6, verses 2 to 4. And here God says, I am Yahweh. I appeared to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob as El Shaddai, but I did not make myself known to them by my name, Yahweh.
וארא אל אברהם, אל יצחק ואל יעקב באל שדי, ושמי אדוני לא נודעתי להם.
Now this contradicts the J source. And many scholars have suggested that P and E preserve a memory of a time when Israel worshipped the Canaanite god El. P and E wish to claim that the God who covenanted with the patriarchs is the God of the Exodus, but now with a new name. God is 6 times called El Shaddai. Other names are El Elyon, El Olam, El Roi, El Bethel. You can see the translations of these. The everlasting God, God Most High, a God of seeing, the God of the house of God, and so on. El is the name of the chief god in the Canaanite pantheon.
Now, Noble Drew Ali told the so-called black, Negro colored people of America during the 1920s when he was around that you're not Negro black colored, you're Moors. The reason why you're Moors is because you're Aboriginal and indigenous to the land, and you're descendants of Moroccans that were born in America.
Right, that's what I was saying. That's what I understand.
Right, so majority
that's what I relate to.
Right, because majority of people who claim that they come over here from Africa as a slave, 99% of those people, they're going to tell you that their grandma told them one time that they're Cherokee.
Yep. You know, so when I hear Noble Drew Ali, right, my first lecture, I know it's the truth because, you know, I sit in that lecture, I say, see, I recall all this shit I forgot.
Right.
And I'm absorbing and I'm like, man, somebody wants me to remember.
Are you telling me, Professor, that because the Greeks called it Egypt, that we don't need to call it by its original name? We need to stay away from Kemet or Timeri, and we need to just regurgitate what the Greeks say and say Egypt. Are you saying that that's a proper name for it?
The name Egypt was not coined by the Greeks. It was coined by the Coptic Egyptian speaking Greek.
Oh, that's new. Go ahead. That's new to me.
Okay. Now, just like Jesse Jackson speaking English told the white media in America to call us Africans living in America African Americans. No white man did that. It was this Negro by the name of Jesse Jackson speaking English that said that and told the white media to do that. So the same thing with this word Egypt, coined by the Melkite Coptic Egyptian while speaking Greek, because when Alexander the Greek came into Egypt, he forced the Greek language on our ancestors, the ancient Egyptians, and they learned that language. Okay? And they were asked, who are you? They said, we are Egyptus or Egyptos. So that's where the word Egypt comes from. So I differ from you or anybody else who bring me that argument.
Okay.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So why would you use a different name that the world is not using to identify our ancestors with? You're taking away the glory of our ancestors' culture and civilization. For 9,668 years before the Greeks came into Egypt, our ancestors had a civilization running and in place. They civilized all of humanity from that one culture in Egypt, in Africa. And here you come along, the rest of these African scholars talking about Kemet. The world don't know anything about no Kemet. They know our ancestors as ancient Egyptians.
With this shit, because I wouldn't be.
You want you to remember. You want you to remember. You want you to remember.
Yeah.
Remember Total Recall. Remember
That's how I was able to understand when I'm going through this metamorphosis I'm going through.
Yes, but remember they told you, yeah, they told you as Jason Bourne. They told you that.
As see that. I have to see that movie.
Right? They told you that you're going back to your birthright. You're trying to remember who you are, but there's things things that's going to be thrown at you that it's like, you know, Matrix with the deja vu when you see the black cat 2 times and you know that you've been here before. You know that this happened already. You know that you heard this. You know that this information is resonating with you in a place where information shouldn't resonate with you.
So a couple of weeks ago, I have a food delivery. I work for part-time. I take some food to this place that I've been to before, which is like a place of consciousness, you know.
Yeah.
I think they're more on the side of dealing with a lot of the Egyptian part of our ancient selves.
Yeah.
So I happened to go in there again, which I hadn't forgotten about the place, but I haven't been there in a while, and they were still there. So I go in, and they had these candles they were selling, and they had faces of some Egyptian something on there, right? What's that? I said, that's me. I look like him or something.
Yeah.
I go home. She tells me his name. His name is Kansu. I go home and I Google Kansu, and I swear Kansu was in me.
Yeah.
I was freaking out.
Yeah.
And I just understand myself just more all the time, man. It's just, I need to be comfortable and love myself. I read something the other day. I was like, that's me.
Right. And again,
cool as shit.
and just what you said, you know what I mean, learning to love yourself. That's why Noble Drew Ali told the Moors, the so-called classified Negro black color people, that you need to learn to love instead of hate. And that definitely starts with yourself.
Definitely start with yourself, because if you love yourself, at some point you're going to understand why other people like you do not love themselves.
Right.
Because they don't know why to love themselves.
Right.
I know how to love myself because I know there's a Michael Jackson in me. I know there's a Stevie Wonder.
Right.
I know there's all these, people they kill.
Right. Yeah.
Because they know it's thousands of us over here in my community, Inglewood, Like there's a young person over here that can discover all the medicines to cure these diseases, but, we kill them.
Yeah.
They get killed every day because nobody tapped into that melanin of theirs.
Exactly.
That melanin brain of theirs.
Right. But again, right, like we were saying, how are they gonna tap in if they recognize it as post-traumatic slave syndrome opposed to birthright theft. If they realize that it's about birthright theft, they would realize, hold on a second, how about we just build our own goddamn school? That's why I give props to Ice Cube and Allen Iverson. They did what these basketball niggers couldn't do for decades. Start your own goddamn league. The hell you need them for? The arenas are sitting there empty in the summer. How about start your own goddamn league? Right? And don't be surprised when they shut him down or buy him out because they realize what he's doing. You know what I mean? Because you know you know it's like the same thing with Malcolm, right? You know, you have to either completely sever the ties. You can't be in and out. It's either you're saying that you're strictly for human rights or you're not. If you're not, then clearly you're not a human being. Because human beings should be for human rights. Common sense again. Why would human beings be for civil rights? That doesn't make any sense. If you're a human being and there's human rights, why are you going for civil rights or any other rights when there's rights for human beings?
Yeah. Did you hear about the brother up here that's a Moor? He's in federal prison now.
Yeah.
I can't think of his name. I might can think of his name. Maurice, I don't know.
Right. Yeah, Marcel Walton L.
Yeah, Marcel. Right.
Yeah.
I know him.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
I was hanging out with him when they were bringing the Moor information to us to Chicago.
Yeah.
Back in the I would want to say in early 2000s, Hamza Sid Catlett Day was bringing all that information to us.
Yeah.
And he was bringing us the cat, the cats.
Say that again?
Yeah, but they shut him down. They shut him down too.
Yeah. Right. But how are they able to? Because they deviated from the path of birthrights. Because what Noble Drew Ali,
I probably would never know what happened.
What Noble Drew Ali brought was your nationality and your birthrights, nothing else. Once you stay in those two lanes of nationality and birthrights, you won't have issues. People have issues because they get distracted by the carrot on the stick.
How do you do that living in the society and the culture we live in?
We're doing that right now. All we have to do is do it as free people. No different than during slave time. We basically said, yo, we don't want to be on the plantation. We're free people. We got papers right here to show you that we're free. We got a card right here to show you that we're free.
We went and started our own town. Built our own schools,
exactly. Okay. So we already know what we're supposed to do. So we know what we're supposed to do. But we don't want to do it.
So you say we got free for some type of way from slavery. Now we need to free ourselves away from this. That's just complicated shit.
Nah, it's not. It's only complicated when you're not looking at it from the perspective of birthright. What did they really steal? They really stole our mind. It's really not about the land and all that stuff. They can't steal land. If you're stealing something, you're picking it up, putting it in your pocket, you're going somewhere with it. What land did they steal? They don't steal no land. They're occupying. You know what I mean? So again, it's concept again. Like it's how are we looking at the concept? You know, all the black leaders tell you they stole something from somebody. They stole this, they stole that, they stole this, they stole that.
When is the European going to have to? Their time is going to be up, and we'll have to say, man, we're going to have to get this shit back to these people.
But again, is that
ever going to happen?
It goes back to that same thing that you're saying. You said out of your own mouth, that's my shit, but you want somebody to give it back to you? That's a catch-22.
Well, who's going to help us get our shit back to you? The United Nations are going to force these people to get their stuff back?
We are going to be the ones to get our stuff back. But we're not going to do it with a post-traumatic slave mind. It ain't happening. Just look around you. Just open your window and look outside. Tell me how many pants you see on the ground. by men who are probably 30, 40, 50 years old.
What am I looking on the street, out my window to see what?
You're looking out the window to see how many people have skinny jeans on with their pants under their ass.
Oh, that group.
Those are that's you know who that is? You know who that is out there walking there? That's Jesus out there walking like that, but he doesn't know himself. That's King Tut walking out there, but he doesn't know himself. He has post-traumatic slave syndrome. Oh, okay, so it's all you know. The mindset lets you know. The actions lets you know where the mindset's at.
And no juice probably speak on this group of people we're running into today. That I mean, how we have so much information, access to information? You got guys walking around with their hands down below their butt, and I believe some of these young people, when they turn 16, they haven't been on the planet no more than 16 years. They think it's almost quite normal behavior. I mean, they have no idea that the sexual implications behind that. And if you don't know the sexual implications behind that, then you're missing something taught at home or something.
So I have a question for everybody. Lately I've been seeing that more and more guys have been going with this new skinny jean fad. And my brother actually went to the mall and bought a pair of these. He's actually in Africa right now, which is why he hasn't been in any of my videos. But he'll be back soon. But he got a pair of these, okay? They look hideous. This says Levi's 510 Super Skinny. And these jeans that I have on the other hand right now, are Old Navy relaxed jeans or something like that. Now what I don't understand is why do guys wear jeans like this that, you know, are like girls' jeans, when jeans like mine are obviously so much more comfortable and loose. So to kind of keep an open mind, when I saw these, I thought to myself, you know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they are comfortable, you know, it feels maybe a little lighter. Maybe I'll like the tight feeling. I don't know, like, maybe I'd like to be squeezed in ways I've never been squeezed before. So I went ahead and tried them on.
It's one leg. Here's the other one. I got this. I got this. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. How does that even, oh my gosh. How is this comfortable? You know what this makes me feel like doing, right?
You're a jerk. 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 You're a jerk.
I don't know if wearing these pants makes me feel like a bigger idiot, or if doing that dance made me feel like a bigger idiot. This is ridiculous. So my question to everybody is why? Why? If you wear skinny jeans, please tell me in the comments below. Why?
No, go ahead.
Another thing I want to bring up so you can grapple with, I come to the conclusion too, that the reason why black boys do not value other black boys or men because they have no value in the men that created them. They see no value there. And when you see no value in your father, when your mother shows you there's no value in that black man, well, then you have no value for your own brother that's standing right next to you because you have no things of like for a black person. I like my black father. He taught me how to love all black men because my father was there. He taught me how to tie my shoe. I watched him tie his tie. He taught me how to tie his tie, shine his shoes. Watch him get dressed for work. Make sure he had his lunch when he goes out the door. I took orders from him. He reprimanded me. So I love all black men.
Right. Now
I don't love a black man because I didn't have a father that taught me how to love him.
Right.
Which is my father. Taught me how to love him.
Exactly.
Not hate him or dislike him. Then I myself like all black men.
Right. No.
I'm not going to kill Cujo when we get into a fight or an argument.
Right. Right.
Because I know Cujo
Because
has the
you were
value.
brought up, right.
Besides, right now we have an argument and a dispute and a dislike for each other. I also know Cujo has value because I know he is a father to someone. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I
So
get
if
you.
don't
I
have
get
that, you don't have that. Well, hell no, this black brother is not going to freaking like me, and I have to understand that.
Now let's go back again. Right? Now now everything that you said, right and exact, right? Except one thing. That you're speaking about the good that your father did and how he influenced you. But you classified him and others as black.
Did you ever look up the word black in a dictionary? For what? Did you ever study anything that wasn't part of some con? What the hell for, man? Come with me. Black, destitute of light, devoid of color, enveloped in darkness, hence utterly dismal or gloomy, as the future looked black. Pretty good with them words, ain't you? Soiled with dirt, foul, sullen, hostile, forbidding, as a black day. Foully or outrageously wicked, as black cruelty, indicating disgrace, dishonor, or culpability. And there's others, black male, black bald, black guard. Yeah, well, there's some more, right?
Which when we put words into the atmosphere, they're going to have an effect. If we have thoughts and we're thinking certain things, it's going to have a certain effect. So you know, the influence that you received from your father and what the others are not receiving, that's making them, you know, not be responsible, quote-unquote, men. You know what I mean? Bringing up boys properly, etc. So we wouldn't have this madness that we see happening right now. The real issue is that the words that we use cast spells. So when you look up the definition of black, it's everything negative.
We awake each morning and go off during the weekdays to earn the living at various jobs and undertakings until we come to the weekend. And this seems perfectly acceptable to most people. However, more people die between 6 and 9 on a Monday morning than any other time of the week. So I do what I call a translation of the English language, and I spell that T-R-A-N-C-E with the idea that words cast spells. So when you translate that life sentence, you remember that awake is a funeral party for the dead. Mourning is the state you're in when you attend a wake. And you would have to be in a weekdays to earn the living, since urns are for the ashes of the dead. We call our jobs undertakings. Job itself is a Hebrew word for persecuted. And what we get at the end of this perverse bargain with life is the weak end of the deal, as we become progressively weakened ourselves. And so our most prevalent greeting to each other is hello, the reverse of which is, oh hell. And at first, I suspected the hands of collusion entangling the language to foster illusion. And I think it's quite true that a culture's theology has a great deal to do with the word's etymology and how it evolves over time to combine incompatible meanings that may undermine the original thoughts it was meant to define. But now, I don't think it's planned, for the thing that I've found is that like concepts can gravitate toward the same sound and vibrate at the rate that our thoughts designate. Because words are electromagnetic vibrations whose fine alphabetic tintinnabulations can take on the tint of our true expectations, which they then imprint on our metal of mind, causing sounds to adhere when they're of the same kind.
on yourself.
Even when I write it down, I'm writing the spell down.
Exactly.
I'm writing something negative.
Right, and then that's why they call it spelling.
Yeah, I've been to that lecture.
Right?
I
Yeah.
know that.
Not because of words, but because what you say. So again, going back to certain people, you can't say Noble Drew Ali said nationality and birthrights, but then do something opposite as that as a representative of Noble Drew Ali. You're gonna hex yourself. That's why you might see certain Moors get certain treatment. You know what I mean? And then also that's gonna be used on the weak-minded people to say, I don't want nothing to do with that Moorish whatever, when they're Moors by birthright. It's not because what some Moor did. Like if you see a Chinese go in a store and kill 50 million people, right?
They don't say they're not Chinese anymore.
Exactly. They're not gonna say I'm not Chinese because that guy killed 50 million people and he's Chinese.
They just say he's a crazy Chinese.
Oh, okay. All right. Right? Same perspective.
You're smart. You're a smart person.
We all have the faculties. It's just for us to have the right reference points so that we can use them. You know what I mean? It's no different. You're smart because you figure you had enough decency, right? You had enough decency to actually say something when you heard something that was not normal to your psyche. You know what I mean? You say, hold on a second, stop a second. Like, what are you talking about? I need to hear more about this. Right? It goes back to that same thing of you saying that things are relative to you. There's certain things that when you hear them and you read them, it just makes you feel a certain way that you can't even deny it. You can't even deny it. You know what I mean? So
even when it's a food I taste, you know.
Right.
My train of thought is melanin. I feed melanin its proper diet.
Mm-hmm.
So even when I come across food, I say, oh, this is my ancient food. I want it back. Take it back.
Right. Right. And
this belongs in your body.
And again, remember that. Always look at it from the perspective of it's your birthright. That's why you're taking your shit back. It's not because some European did something or because they stole something or because whatever. It's because you have the mind now. You have the mind to know that this is my birthright. It's my birthright to be able to do what I'm doing once I'm not violating anybody else's rights. Once I'm not causing any commotion or harm to anybody, I can exercise my birthright. You know what I mean? Whatever that is.
For me to change my subconscious with that, I'm going to start my damnness to try it today.
You know, and it starts with recognizing that you and your brothers and sisters are not Negro, black, colored. And every time we classify our people as that, we hex them with all the, just look up black, and then all the stuff that's under black, that's what we put on our people. All right, that's what we, all right, so just like you, a lot of other people have read it, and they know what it means. And they're still gonna say that they're that. When they know what it is, and then you have, of course, then you have the conscious people who are, you know, the biggest workers with the birthright stealers, right? Because they force this idea that we are black people on our people, and then they connect it to the universe and connect it to ancient people and connect it to all these places where they don't belong. Because black is a modern term, and it has nothing to do with anything ancient.
I go traveling sometime, and I know as much as Europeans hate anything Islamic names or whatever, I keep finding cities named after them.
Yeah.
And they live in there. And I'm like, why did they erase everything else? Why did they leave these?
Right.
Why did they not erase those names? I know good and well in Illinois there ain't no place called Muhammad something. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's just something kind of kills me. So I pick up the atlas, which was stolen again, which I lost.
Yeah.
And I was going through the whole country, and I'm finding all these, like, whether they're Indian names or, you know.
Just say Moorish. Just say Moorish. It'll feel better.
Moorish.
Yeah, Moorish names. Just say it. We say if you see Indian stuff, oh, it's Moorish. If you see Islamic stuff, oh, it's Moorish. If you see Egyptian stuff, oh, it's Moorish. If you see Hebrew stuff, oh, it's Moorish.
It's Moorish. It's
Yeah.
Moorish.
Why not?
Anything ancient of ours is Moorish.
Like, that's what it is. You know what I mean? Not because
people that we usually don't hear. What I want to move to now is in time when history got changed once more. And that is when, if I may please, this is when the people called the Moors came out of North Africa and went into the lands that we now call the European countries. There was no European country that they did not touch. I repeat, there was no European country that they did not go into. The Moors, when they came out and invaded these portions of Europe, came out as both a peaceful and an army people. Let me explain that. There is a story about, is this the face that's launched 1,000 ships? And it is said to be of Helen of Troy. And it is stated that Paris, the young prince, takes an armada of people to bring her back because of her beauty and his love for her, and because of their love for the young Paris, these people followed him like mad. Well, that is a lot of mythology. What isn't a mythology has become worse than a mythology. It's not even a fairy tale. It's a forgotten page that turned about the history of Europe and the history of Africa. It is when a black princess that lived between the lands there of Morocco and of Libya was kidnapped by a German Teutonic captain, and armadas of men came in search of her, which led finally to an invasion by a very large army of mixed African peoples called the Moors. They were called the Moors because they came from Morocco in the name. The Moors of Morocco. The story of this kidnapped princess is one that has gotten buried in the annals of recent time, but was a story told ably in the 14th, 15th century, and was repeated into the 18th century, but then got lost. The Moors invaded most of Europe in 700 AD. The exact date they give is 705 to 706 AD. However, the Moors stayed in many of these lands for 40 and 50 years and left seeds there in the form of children, and their bloodline still is infused into many of the European peoples. The princess, and I want you to remember this because I doubt that you will hear this story anyplace else, and as in most of the classes that I give that are unique with the subject matter, I suggest you go research it, and if you find it to be a lie, or if you find it cannot be supported, or if you find that it is erroneous, please come back and tell me, because I will be the first one to try and change that part of it if it is so.
Not because, you know what I mean, you know, that's the only thing that we were. We know that we were other things. But the last name on the record with these Europeans' engagement, as far as our people are classified, they were Europeans and we were Moors. They were pilgrims and we were Aboriginal indigenous people. You know what I mean?
It takes me back to my psyche again, retraining my psyche. When I see the Europeans say, oh, this was ancient times, this was an ancient, I say, well, I'm the ancient ones.
Exactly.
That's me they're talking about.
Exactly.
I don't care I don't care if they're in China, wherever they are, when they say something ancient, they're talking about me.
Right. But are they good? Are they? But again,
that just blew me out the water, huh?
Right. But now again, from their perspective now, if you are the ancient one and you're talking to them, if you are the ancient one, they know that you're not Roy. So you're not Roy Jackson. You're not really an ancient one yet. I hear you, I understand, but you're not really there yet. Because if you are ancient one, you would have the name of your foremothers and forefathers. you would have the dress code of your foremothers and forefathers, which is why the thing with the Moors is so, you know what I mean, the whole thing with, you know, fezzes and turbans and whatever, you know what I mean?
So what is it? Would it be correct to say that I'm saying I am the ancient ones in the physical, maybe not in the mental?
Yeah. Yes. By visualization. Yeah, from a visual perspective, they know. But remember, everything that is external has to be internal first. So you have to be an ancient one mentally to even
from the outside.
Right, you know what I mean?
Externally,
yeah.
Externally, I am ancient. I'm ancient, but internally, inside, I am still Roy, the nigger.
Right, right, and it's about correcting that part, because the external is what it is.
I'm the son of a bitch. I'm the son of a bitch nigger, according to Donald Trump.
Right.
Now, he called the black people son of a bitches, but he didn't call the agitator down there in Charlotte.
Yeah, but remember, if he's talking about quote unquote black people, remember the definition. Is he wrong?
Right.
Aren't they sons of bitches? If they're gonna call themselves
Stop.
Remember, hexing ourselves. Remember, hexing ourselves. It's never somebody outside that's doing it. It's always us doing it to ourselves. We just have to look a little deeper to see how we're doing it to ourselves. And once we realize how we're doing it to ourselves, let's just correct that. So you know what I mean? You can say, you know what I mean? You can say Roy Jackson. But why is it that you have royal in there? What is it in your mind that made you say, you know what, I'm just going to put royal as the quote unquote in between Roy and Jackson? That's because of your birthright. That's because the Spirit spoke through you and you exercise what the Spirit said. Because you know in your heart that you're not no Jackson. You know that you.
I've been knowing that since
exactly.
I came out the womb.
Exactly.
I always turn that name down, even though it was my father's name, and I should be proud.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's not a disrespect to where you come from by saying I don't want to be.
You continue to be unafraid of this, man.
Yeah, I'd like to say something right here. You know, Cassius Clay, yes.
Why do you want to say Cassius Clay when Howard Cosell and everybody is calling you Muhammad Ali? Then why you got to be the one of all people whose color to keep saying Cassius Clay?
Howard Cosell is not the one who's going to fight you. I am.
You making it really hard on yourself now.
Well,
why don't you keep the thing in the sport angle? Why don't you call me my name, man?
Well, what's your name? You told me your name was Cassius Clay a few years ago.
I never told you my name was Cassius Clay. My name is Muhammad Ali, and you will announce it right there in the center of that ring after the fight if you don't do it now.
For the benefit of this broadcast, him. All right?
You just acting just like an old Uncle Tom. Another Floyd Patterson. I'm going to punish you.
Let me tell you something, man. You ain't got no
back off of me.
Don't call me no Uncle Tom.
That's what you are, Uncle Tom.
Why are you going to call me Uncle Tom? I ain't do nothing.
You heard me. Just back off of me. And so, ladies and gentlemen, as the two contestants prepare for battle right now, back off of me, man. Back off of me, man. Another interview has been recorded for posterity as the two gentlemen continue to promote the fight. Perfect, that's it. Come on. Keep shooting.
You can promote the fight and all that.
See that name, you know what I mean?
I turned that name down all the time when I was little. It never fit with me. And then when I asked my father where that name came from, he said, you were named after the doctor that delivered me, I was told. I said, that white man, well, I never liked that name anymore.
Right? You know what I mean?
I said, why your mother named you after the doctor? The doctor told her that. I said, them bastard.
Right. But again, it goes back to the theme, right? It goes back to the theme of
the stealing, the theft.
Yeah.
But Cujo, I I gotta go, bro, because you gave me so much here that I'm gonna be walking around in a daze, and it's 95 degrees here, and I don't need to walk around in a daze. But it feels good anyway.
Once you have
To separate myself from all this madness. So I appreciate you reaching out to me through that medium, Facebook. You say you're recording this, right?
Yeah.
So I should look forward to seeing it somewhere.
Yeah, I'm gonna upload it to our YouTube page.
Yeah.
And
RV Bay. Okay, I got you.
RV Bay Publications.
.com.
.com.
And is this you?
Yeah, that we're affiliated with that website, and you just you go there, and then you know the rabbit hole will get a lot deeper.
I'm not a rabbit.
Good. So it should be. So you should be good then when you go there.
Oh.
You should be right at. You should be right at home when you go there.
Yeah, peace and love, brother. Anything else?
You tell me. Anything else?
Oh, I'm sure there's going to be much more later. I'm going to put your number in my